वंदे मातरम दोस्तों। मैवरिक जियोपॉलिटिक्स के आज के सेशन में आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। चैनल को लाइक शेयर और सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिएगा। आइए स्वागत करते हैं आज के हमारे गेस्ट का, मेजर जनरल श्री सुधाकर जी का, सीनियर जियोपॉलिटिकल एंड स्ट्रेटेजिक डिफेंस एक्सपर्ट। We will discuss with Sudhakar sir on the latest on the Latin America post US military intervention to capture President Maduro. Sudhakar sir, pranam and welcome to the show.
Pranam, because it is a great delight to connect with people like you. And for me, I feel my life is fulfilled. Aim and objective is fulfilled when I still have audience like you to pass on certain issues which one learned in 38 years of service in the army.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Means a lot.
You're doing a great job. I've
Thank
seen
you so
some
much.
of your podcast. Well done and keep it up.
Thank you so much, sir. Right, sir. We can start with the latest on the Venezuela situation, or rather the US, or the actions around Latin America, US's posture in Greenland.
Perfect. So, this being the first time with you, we'll try and keep it as short as possible. Okay. In any case, it should not be more than 30 minutes.
Sure, sir.
And before I cover anything, I need to try to give a little background so that जो बड़ी picture है ना, a greater picture is understood, big picture is understood.
Ji.
Now, you want me to converse in English or Hindi? How do you want me to cover?
Sir, anything you are comfortable with. That's okay.
Okay, fine. So it will be a mix of English and Hindi. In case
Sure.
I am going a little over the head, you can slow me down.
No problem.
Firstly, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wonderful opportunity to have been invited by Vikas to his platform. I am grateful to him. And to actually be to inspire somebody wherein I can contribute my penny's worth is something a welcome development as far as I'm concerned, because I'm looking for opportunities and time where I can actually contribute to the development of the youth of the country, because we have a huge youth bulge of 65% between the age of 15 to 65 years old. And the median age of India is 29 years. It is one of the most brilliant, brightest profile in the world. It's the sweetest spot that we enjoy. So before we go ahead with Venezuela and Greenland, what is happening? Where should we start from? Donald Trump came into power in his 2.0 presidency on 20th of January 2025. He came with lots of promises that he made in the election campaigning. To start with, for a layman, he had assured the constituency that he would bring mindless conflict of Russo-Ukraine war to an end within 24 hours, little realizing that it was a very complex issue because he's a businessman. He doesn't know history, he doesn't know geography, he doesn't know geopolitics, he knows nothing. He simply shoots through the air. Okay, as a simple layman, he plays golf. He thinks everything is like golf. So it's not so. Geopolitics is a very complex subject. If you touch one subject, you are opening multiple points. And each of the points have to be analyzed. Each of the dots have to be joined. Only then you get a comprehensive and a larger picture right. Unless problem identification is accurate, the doctor cannot diagnose the disease. He will end up diagnosing the symptom, not the disease. And when you start giving medicine as per the symptom, then the root cause of a problem is never addressed. So that's why his 24-hour of closure of the within 24 hours, he will stop the conflict, has gone as a misnomer. And the peace proposals which have been mooted both for Middle East as also for the Central Europe looks like a very tall order. Yet there is somebody, despite all brickbats he is getting, I still admire him. At least there is one person in the world who's sticking his neck out, and despite all oppositions and resistance from the deep state of America, he's still, putting forth the peace proposal. Okay. So on one hand, we have Russo-Ukraine war. The conflict is, to me, doesn't appear to come to an end. It's not that easy, but it will be incorrect to come to a conclusion that the peace proposal is defunct. No, some beginning has been made. Zelensky has been made to scale down in the expectations and aspiration of the people of Ukraine. Okay? At least the broker, that is Donald Trump, has realized that anything to lower the expectations of Russia is at a geopolitically prohibitive, at a prohibitive cost. So under these circumstances, some beginning has been made. At least people have realized that neutral status of Ukraine is very important. 20% of land has to be ceded. And also, if they don't do it early, then they will be only buying trouble. And most important thing of all this is that the military force of Ukraine is to be scaled down from 900,000 to 600,000. Okay. Coming to Middle East, we all know what has happened. It's the Octopus doctrine which is coming into play. The head of the octopus being Iran, and the tentacles are Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Hezbollah side. Hezbollah side, nobody talks. Everyone talks about Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah. They have been weakened to large an extent. And the aim and objective of America and Israel as regards Iran is to actually weaken it further, make sure that it doesn't go nuclear, and make sure that Iran undergoes a change of regime. Whether it will happen or not, I don't know. What mode is he going to adopt? Something like what he did for Maduro? Well, that also I can't say. But the people who are the son of Shah, Reza is already ready. He is sitting absolutely pucked up to come to Iran anytime and take over the reins of Iran. But Iran things are going out of hand. So these are two important developments. Plus, we have had Operation Sindoor between India and Pakistan. Plus, South China Sea keeps on witnessing lots of turbulent and ramming of the vessels of Chinese vessels against the Philippines taking place at different islands close to the coast of Philippines. So these are the few of the developments which are taking place around the world. But most important thing is that we need to take note of the fact is that the Thucydide trap, the Thucydide principle. Thucydide was a historian, Greek historian. In one of his historical documents, that is called Peloponnesian War, he had highlighted one important issue that the powerful will always do what it can. The weak will suffer what it must. What it means is जिसके हाथ में वो क्या जिसके हाथ में
जिसकी
बांस
लाठी उसकी भैंस।
लाठी उसकी भैंस ये जो कहावत है. So that continues, but a corollary which flows out from this line has to be understood that no superpower will ever allow any rising power to come anywhere close to its footing. What China is to America, India also is to China, and India also is to America. America does not want to convert India into a second China. Therefore, it will do anything and everything to retard its economic growth so that its aspiration to become a global power does not fructify. Okay, it becomes very difficult for a superpower or established power. There is a gentleman called as Professor Ellison. He is a political scientist of USA. One is his papers, it was circulating way back in 2015. On similar, he's carried out a study, extensive study of almost 500 years. He has identified 16 main conflicts. And out of 16, 12 he came to a conclusion that they took place because of the strategic rivalry between the rising power and the accomplished power. So that is why the situation is what it is today. We may call America as a declining power, but the fact of the matter is that America is America. Like the line I said, no superpower would like to, you know, lose its supremacy and authority. So keep this as a backgrounder, and keeping in view the time, I'll try to speed up the process. What has happened is America has actually gone through a series of milestones, not achievement, milestones, which actually highlight the weaknesses, the declining status of the superpower. It cannot call itself as have been successful wherever it set its foot, whether Vietnam or Korea to some extent, yes, they did. Or you talk about Afghanistan, you talk about Syria, you talk about Libya, Iraq, wherever. They have not left a footprint of lasting peace and normalcy or any sign of democracy anywhere. That is what as a student of geopolitics, I find it wanting that is America worthy of being called as a superpower? No. Second thing that has happened is because it has gone beyond its boundaries in its extended outreach. The expenses which the country has borne in past several years as a superpower has started becoming like a burden. As a result, the economy of USA is holding a debt of 38 trillion US dollar as on today. What it implies or means is for a 38 trillion US dollar economy, which is debt to GDP ratio comes to roughly earlier it was 123%, now it is 128 to 130%. For a developed country, this is a very high debt to GDP ratio. What it means for a layman is every year USA has to dole out 1 trillion, close to 1 trillion US dollar for the servicing of the interest of the debt. One. To run the country, routine running, bottom line requirement, they require something close to 6 trillion US dollar. But the revenue generated by the country is just 4 trillion. So there is a deficit of 2 trillion here. There is a requirement of 1 trillion there. $3 trillion they require. So if they require 3 trillions, okay, they also have to sustain themselves as a superpower. Okay, so where do they generate the revenue from? Therefore, many important government officials, including the Fed governor at times, has given out a statement that USA requires a steady inflow of wealth to sustain as firstly as a country, one, because the living standards are very high. Okay, the way of life is different, culture is different, they live a life of loan. Social security itself is such a huge challenge, liability. So, under these circumstances, steady inflow of wealth into USA is a mandatory, inescapable requirement. To get the steady inflow of wealth, where do you get the wealth from? In today's environment, in 21st century, there are multiple components which are available in the environment. One of the environment component is oil. Oil has got a market of almost 2.1 to 2.6 trillion US dollar. At places you'll find it as 1.8 to 2. At places you find it 2.1 to 2.3. I am saying my research suggests that it is from 2.1 to 2.6 trillion US dollar market in the world today. Number two, defense industry. 1.8 to 2.1 trillion US dollar market available. Number three, the drug money. It's about 1.6 to 2.1 trillion US dollar. Okay, call it golden crescent or golden triangle. Now there is a fentanyl triangle which has come up from China to Colombia to Mexico to USA. These are all new kinds of triangles. So so I have told you about the oil. I have told you about the defense industry. I have told you about the drug money. Next is the pharmaceutical industry.
Sir, before we move ahead, I have one point. Interestingly, यूएस ने, चलिए यूएस का प्रॉब्लम है फेंटानिल, और फेंटानिल के सोर्स पे उसने अटैक नहीं किया है. ही इज ट्राइंग टू अटैक वेनेजुएला एंड से वेनेजुएला सप्लाइज ड्रग्स.
I'm coming to that.
या.
How is it tackling? When I talk about the Octopus doctrine, इसी ऑक्टोपस का जो हेड है ना, ईरान को उसने सबसे बाद में अटैक किया, सबसे पहले उसको टेंटिकल को हिट किया है. अभी देर आर मोर टेंटिकल्स विच दे हैव टू एड्रेस. ओके, सो आई टोल्ड यू अबाउट, यू आर इंडिकेटिंग अबाउट चाइना, इजंट इट? कि चाइना को कुछ कर नहीं सकता है, because the leverage which China has got today, which I'll explain to you within a minute, people will understand. The fact remains that the pharmaceutical industry is about 1.4 to 1.6 trillion US dollar. Okay. Thereafter, these are the four things I have told you. I have told you about the drug money also, defense industry and oil. The most important, the fifth thing which is emerging is the rare earth element, REE. This is the new oil of 21st century. There are many more, but I am only keeping to the barest minimum. One example of rare earth element, if I may, you see, there are so many elements. One of them happens to be neodymium. Neodymium, without which you cannot, your F-35 cannot fly, Teslas cannot move, your data centers will go dark. And things like antimony, for which there is a rivalry going on between China. China has weaponized antimony. It is the only country which has got the huge reserve. The restricted export of antimony, a critical mineral used for strategic sectors such as missiles, infrared sensors, flares, ammunition, even nuclear weapons. They have rendered USA, a country like USA, almost defunct and ineffective. Okay, so moves and counter moves. USA does something, and as a response, China does something. Okay, then things like gallium, germanium. Without gallium and germanium, they're used for solar cells, for computer chips. Now, if you don't have these, you cannot produce anything. Another thing, let me also share with you is about the high purity, high hardness, high intensity synthetic graphite material, and the natural flake graphite and its products are used for production of electric vehicle batteries, fuel cells, and the nuclear reactor. So such like issues are actually, just to give you a quick reflections of all this. So 97 people at times they say 70%, कोई बोलता है 80%, कोई ना 97% of dominance of upstream, midstream, and downstream of all kinds of rare earth element is by China. Okay, you call it mining, call it extraction, call it refining, call it processing. There are hard variety, there are soft variety. Hard varieties are very exclusive types. For processing them, you require a different kinds of machinery. So all these things. So what is it that I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say that the past 40 odd years, having outsourced and made China as the manufacturing hub, the dependency of country like USA has grown manifold on China. It is so much so, it is so deep rooted that call it under any heading, de-risking, diversification, or anything, supply chain or China plus theory, nothing is going to work out.
सब कुछ
Many
चाइना ने कंट्रोल कर रखा है।
आपने जानबूझ के दे दिया just to protect your environment because the cost of labor was high, the product cost was coming very high, and China was waiting. Deng Xiaoping was waiting, and Zhao Enlai also was waiting, on a lounge. He just pounced on it, that
चाइना
opportunity.
चाइना भस्मासुर बन गया सर उसके बाद तो।
So therefore, what is it that I am looking? I have indirectly or directly tried to convey that USA would like to continue to retain its supremacy and authority. One. Number two, it is in huge debt. Number three, it has to ensure steady wealth flow into US. It may come under different name. Okay. So therefore, steady inflow of wealth coming into US. I have also told you the components or the avenues from where it can flow. What you have seen in Venezuela, he is also gone open to say, ये तो तेल के लिए किया है. But I am telling you a bigger game because this man may not understand. His advisors are also youngsters. They may not understand. There is a bigger game taking place. What is that bigger game? This bigger game actually came into light with the publication of the National Security Strategy 2025. It
ओके।
got published in the last week of November 2025. Okay. Generally, you find the orientation of national security strategy for past several years has been that the center of gravity has always been China, driving the threat factor, based on which America's response matrix has always been developed and contained in the document like national security strategy. They have been saying China, 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 number one enemy. So to contain, to counter, to contest China, the complete strategy is to come out in the national security strategy, less for this particular document of November 2025. So what is the distinction? The distinction is that America of late, without economy, you are nowhere. Firstly, they want to consolidate and make America great again. Make America great again means what? That means America is not great. That's why they want to make it great. Okay, or America first. So anything and everything which gives him wealth, which gives him wealth means oil, drug money. They will never come public except for once he has said कि oil के लिए Venezuela किया था. But Venezuela is a very deep-rooted game of the geopolitics, which was poised to dismantle the supremacy status of USA very soon. Venezuela is 4,500 to 5,500 kilometers from its southern boundary of USA to the capital Caracas. They call it as backyard. I don't think such a long distance it cannot be called as backyard. But once upon a time, in the
Maybe
historical,
sphere of influence it can be called, sir.
yes, in the historical perspective, 1823, the president was James Monroe. He coined the term Monroe Doctrine and he formulated an agreement with the Europe that you look after your sphere of influence. Don't dare to colonize any of the countries in the Americas. Americas means North and South America. And if you try to do that, it will be taken as a breach of trust and it will compel USA to take countermeasures effectively. And words to that effect. Okay, this is called a Monroe Doctrine. It started way back during Monroe's time. 1823. Okay, it has been carrying on, but by and by, Cold War 1.0 has gone. Cold War 2.0 has started. We are 25 years plus into Cold War 2.0. The dividing distinction line was the disintegration of Soviet Union in 1991. That is the end of Cold War 1.0. Okay. Now, having had done that, Cold War 2.0 did come up with a unipolarity. The expectation of the complete global order was that at least the unipolar world will uh, enable all of us to see or enable the geopolitics to bring about some semblance of liberal rules based international order. But that was not to be seen anyway. You talk about the aerial strafing on Siberia way back in 1999. Okay, without the Security Council's approval, China and Russia were objecting. Despite that, USA formed a alliance force, Western Alliance, went on for a rapid aerial strafing for 82 days, despite all oppositions. See how many people have been killed in Bosnia Herzegovina, that incident. So this is only one small little example. You can take the example of Afghanistan, Iraq, Saddam Hussein. They started something like what they did with Maduro, that there is a WMD in Iraq. Maduro's case is different. People have to understand. Although I also have gone on international channel and told people that Venezuela does not exist in the UN document in the global route of induction or infiltration of drugs. Drugs, they come through Colombia and thereafter go to Mexico or it goes directly to USA. And drug means fentanyl. Fentanyl is a drug which is used by cancer patient to depress. It's like a painkiller. Okay. So, and to make fentanyl as fentanyl, you require something, what do you call that? There is a chemical required. That chemical's name I'm forgetting. Uh, what is the name of the chemical? The chemical is ah, oh no, doctor. Anyway, if it comes to my mind, I'll share with you.
Sure, sir. Yeah.
So it is called as the precursor chemical. Sorry, that word wasn't I was missing out. There are too many podcasts and TV channels since morning. So it is precursor chemical. It comes from China. Then the fentanyl is prepared in Colombia, and it goes in huge cartels too through Mexico to USA. Venezuela's name doesn't come, but that may not be true. And I would say there are other forms of drugs. Okay, cocaine is another form. 250 tons, as per the latest report that you see in the open source, they have been provided through Venezuela to USA. Who has provided? Venezuelans or somebody else? No. They have been provided by components like Hezbollah. We have heard and seen Hezbollah, or we have been watching in the TV Hezbollah's presence there in South Lebanon, but Hezbollah in large quantum are available here. Who's there to coordinate their activities? The footprint of IRGC, okay, the Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran. They are present in where? Venezuela. You have people from China. Chinese embassy is there, and China's PLA also is located there. You have the footprint of Russia. North Korea, I am not very sure. So what I mean to say, the backyard, that sphere of influence, Monroe Doctrine, the backyard of USA, the complete Latin America in Cold War 1.0 used to be under the domain and dominance of USA. Now, China in past 30, 40 years has overtaken as far as the dominance is concerned. Under the name of BRI, they pumped in money, they made infrastructure development and gone in for improvement of the schooling, medical, health. You have water, road, electricity, all kinds of this thing. They have made them dependent on China. Okay, so Latin America is on in the pocket of China today, not in the pocket of USA. It is very unnerving.
Sir, we must say one thing,
Yeah,
and that's sorry, sir, just my point. Basis what you said, is it safe to say that China has taken the game to the shores of America? पहले
absolutely,
अमेरिका दूसरों के घरों में आके लड़ाई झगड़े लगाता था, लड़ाई खुद करता था, कोरियन वॉर, वियतनाम वॉर, वी नो अफगानिस्तान, वी नो इराक. बट नाउ चाइना हैज डन इट सो स्मार्टली without indulging with his own weapons. They have taken the game to their backyard. Is
absolutely.
that safe to
Yeah.
say?
You see, China, all said and done, they are visionary people. Long-term planning, it comes as a natural way of their activities. Okay. Whether you talk about Chow Lai or Deng Xiaoping or anybody in China, Sun Tzu, once upon a time, if you read his books, he keeps giving out, one-liner quotation. He said, Ki, learn how to win a war without fighting one.
Yeah.
So what has China done? China had done actually, it is gravitated. The Cold War 1.0 was dominated by geopolitics. With the help of geopolitics, America managed to disintegrate Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Soviet Union having been disintegrated, China having become a manufacturing hub of the world order, what has happened is that China says that to win the war without fighting one. It has gravitated away from geopolitics to geoeconomics. In 70s, the Western Europe, or say USA, Canada, and the West European countries put together, they used to dominate the global. 70% of the global economy is to be dominated by them. Today, in 2026, China is doing trade with 120 countries. As per my unofficial research, that at my level, it's coming to 146 out of 193 countries in the United Nations. Okay, out of, let's go by 120. Out of 120, it has got trade surplus with 109 to 111 countries, including USA, including India, almost all the countries in Europe. There is no country in the world which name comes to your mind which would not be having trade deficit against China. Okay, so it has won the world. Latin America, it has pumped in so much of money. When India was trying to liberalize, it has started thinking about the rare earth element in Latin America. It was thinking about the precious metals. Venezuela is full of not only oil, is a very hard, extremely, you got the acidity and the sulfur content of Venezuelan oil is very, very hard. It's very difficult to refine. You require a different special processing machine for that. Okay. And very difficult, very hard to drill that particular oil. All right. And you
आई थिंक
see,
सर एक्सॉन ने तो ये भी बोल दिया कि वी कैन नॉट प्रोसेस देयर ऑयल, राइट?
exactly. So
अपार्ट
now,
फ्रॉम शेवरॉन.
now I'm coming to your main question, which you wanted me to cover. So I have given a broad overview why China has actually come in this manner, why Venezuela has become a backyard, and it is a backyard, okay, but it has become the epicenter of axis of evil. So all the axis of evil, except for North Korea, you find everyone there. You find Russia, China, Iran, Hezbollah, never think IRGC also is there. Okay, all kinds of terrorist groups are also operating there. Plus वो cocaine का नाम भी आ गया उसमें. 250 tons per year goes into America. And 1 ton is equivalent to $25 billion US dollars. So you can imagine what is the quantum of money. People say, now come to Venezuela. Now, Venezuela quickly, Venezuela and Cuba. We'll discuss two issues because people are always anticipating next will be Cuba. I don't think so. Cuba में कुछ बचा ही नहीं है. So Venezuela and Cuba, let me just give out very quick reflections as far as the status of these two countries. Quick I would say facts and figures. Okay. Venezuela, it has a population of 26.5 million to 28.6 million population. Median age is 31 years. It has been experiencing hyperinflation that is over 600%. And to go into the specifics, round about 682% or over 620% in 2024. GDP 120 billion, exports 7.63 billion in 2023. Debt to GDP ratio more than 164.3% in 2024. And total debt as on today it is 150 billion to 200 billions. Okay, forex reserve is 8.99 billion in 2019. Come to Cuba, population is 9.75 million to 11 million. Median age, it's an aging population country. 42.6 years. Inflation is 31.3%. This is 2023-24. GDP is 107.35 billion. Okay, at places you find 201.99, but it is 107.35 billion. Export is very, very minimal, sub-minimal. It's just about 1.05 billion in 2023. Debt to GDP ratio 119% in 2022. Now, this point which I'm going to share with you is very alarming. It is worth, even by you, worth corroborating. If you can actually corroborate and confirm to me, my study suggests that the debt of Cuba as on today is 38 trillion US dollar. I really can't believe. My study is indicating 38 trillion is a hell of a lot. That means the country, it's a sovereign debt. There is a high rate of immigration. Time doesn't permit, otherwise I would have given you the complete historical Fidel Castro, how he came to the chair and became the president of the country way back in 1959, and after that how the immigration started taking place. There is a high rate of immigration. As on today, you have almost about 2.4 million Cubans who are in USA. Majorly they are in Florida. Okay, 850,000 Cubans, they migrated way back in 2022 to 24. But all these are okay. Cuba has got collective poverty more than 89%. So is Venezuela. Okay, there is an acute shortage of food in Cuba. There is a large public sector. There is a high deficit spending and a host of other issues. It is the poorest country in Latin America and the Caribbean. This thing, collective poverty, like I have told you. So keep all these things in the back of your mind. Now you come to why did Trump did what he did. Trump did what he did, as per me. It may vary from people to people, because the promises which he had made for coming to power in 2.0 of his tenure during election campaigning, whichever point he touched, as per him, he is successful. He said tariff, there's huge flowing of wealth and America has become great again. But he doesn't understand the impact of tariff. The same tariff was tried out unsuccessfully by McKinley, way back in 1897 to 1901, he was the president. Finally, he was assassinated. His concept of managing the federal budget was to you take tariff and run the federal budget with the help of tariff. Finally, he got killed. Thereafter, you had Nixon. Then you had this chap, Ronald Reagan, George Bush. All these people have burnt their finger. Because Ronald Reagan has gone to the extent of telling in Congress, if I respect my memory, that tariff is not a double-edged, it is a single-edged weapon. It hits you and hits you and your people. It leads to hyperinflation, leads to unemployment opportunity, leads to anarchy of the country. Despite that, he has violated the Constitution of USA. Constitution of USA allows only 3% of tariff that president can exercise. He's not taken recourse to 1977, that's constitutional obligation of emergency power. Congress should have been taken into confidence, and without that, he's actually taken this call. Okay, so finally, there is a second thing called as Epstein file. Epstein file is actually so sensitive, and Donald Trump is figuring in many of the documents of many of the chapters. Okay, he
और
directed
उनका
it.
लाइफस्टाइल ही ऐसा रहा है. He has been flamboyant in his previous avatar
So whether
and
he
while
was
being
involved
president.
in those unethical practices or not, I'm nobody to say. But we are actually trying to collate and join the dots from the open sources.
Right.
And Epstein file is the one which can ruin him, which can damage him, which can compel him to be impeached by the Congress. Similarly, you talk about the economy. Similarly, bringing armed forces into the cities. For the first time in independent USA, how many? 70 lakhs. 7 million people came on the streets a couple of months back. Okay, look at that customs duty, people on duty of customs and enforcement department, ECI you call it, and they have empowered it so much that in broad daylight they kill their own people and try to defend themselves. And JD Vance and Donald Trump, they are talking in favor as father figures of the USA. They should say, let the matter be investigated.
Yeah.
This is no way. The law and order has taken a toss. The price rise is so much. There is unemployment. The promises that he made to actually create jobs, instead of creating jobs, there is such a, people are leaving America now. Nobody wants to go back there. There is hardly any factor to bind the nation together, be it terms of education, culture, or lifestyle, or anything that you take on. H-1B visa is another issue. It is hitting. 1,000 companies have gone to the court. Supreme Court should be giving judgment anytime. Monday, I think, means tomorrow is Tuesday. In USA, it will be Monday. I think Monday, most likely they are expecting the hearing. And they say even if the hearing is against Donald Trump will circumvent that hearing and get after the countries and people and continue to impose $100,000 for H-1B visa. Call it penalty, call it anything, that the cost of H-1B visa for any client will be that much. So likewise, to distract people, in my opinion, he has chosen some arguments, some narrative building. And that narrative building is something which I've shared. I'm trying to bring logic into the argument so as to justify his action. Whether he's thought it this way or other way, I don't know. I'm only trying to find the easy logic into our presentation or this discourse, that perhaps because of economic debilitating status of USA, he's looking for making America great again. America cannot become great again unless the economy, bounces back. Economy cannot bounce back by printing dollar. It has to come from multiple sources. And therefore, my argument rests with you that Venezuela was subjected to this, firstly, to distract the attention of the domestic constituency. Number two, also to look for oil. That oil is no good. No company, although we have, which is the company, Chevron is already operating there. Okay. Now you have Exxon Mobil, which is there in Guyana. It's there. They got the license in 2005, been carrying on. It's a success story because the sulfur content and acidity is very low. It's a good quality fossil fuel there. And the cost per barrel is coming to very cheap, around 65 or less than that. Today, if you drill oil in Venezuela, the cost per barrel will be $80 per barrel. The international rate as on today is $45.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the kind of, how are you going to make up? Infrastructure development, the experts, somebody sent me a message from Latin America. He said they will require minimum $10 billion per year for 10 years. Okay, he's pumping in, he's saying $100 billion will be given for infra. $10 billion per year for 10 years. Only then the infrastructure will come up the way it is expected. And after that, that hard variety of oil, if it is drilled, you know what kind of cost factor will be required. You compare it with the fraction. Fraction is when you extract oil from the shell soil, shell gas. You call it, that process is known as fractioning. Okay, when you carry out the fractioning, the cost of fraction is close to $65 per barrel. Now compare that with the cost of the barrel in the international market, 45. So where is the profit margin then? Okay, so these are the contradictions which are coming up. Despite that, he has, with one shot, he's tried to kill the axis of evil. With one shot, he's tried to tell the people, you see, why tell Russia and China that you mind your business in your respective sphere of influence. Don't look towards the Western Hemisphere. What happened? The day Donald Trump announced, after having taken over his presidency on 20th of January 2025, he flip-flopped his decision. A stage came wherein he announced that Tomahawk missiles will be given to Ukraine after stages of dithering. The day it was announced, in just about 7 to 10 odd days, or very limited time frame, Russia and Cuba, they went into sign some comprehensive agreement, so security agreement. As per that agreement, the highlight of the agreement was Cuba will allow Russia to deploy offensive weapons like it had happened in 1962. So much so,
During the Cuban Missile Crisis.
yes, they were planning to deploy the oceanic missile. Oceanic missile is a hypersonic missile.
Mm.
It moves at a speed of 8 to 10 Mach per hour. Means no radar or surveillance system can intercept or detect the flight of this missile. Okay, so it was hitting at the, it was a kind of an existential threat to America. Cuban waters, there were also reports, it has been hushed up. There were Russian vessels, naval vessels, which are floating around with these missiles, Zircon missile. Cuban water and Caribbean waters are not very far off from each other. Okay, but nobody is discussing about all this. So this became a kind of a turning point for Donald Trump. Call it alibi or anything. He said, "Ki, bhai, for our existence, we have to, the least or the bottom line requirement for America is to make sure that nobody crosses the Atlantic." So he has told Russia in his own form and manner that you please take the land that you have captured from Ukraine. Okay, your demands will be met, and he's put pressure on Ukraine, on Zelensky. You bloody well keep quiet. You accept the way it is. You cannot win against Russia. Okay, that is how the peace is going to be, cementing or, shaping up. And finally, he's told Russia that his status with of G8 membership will be restored status quo ante. One. Number two, it will be reintegrated with the geopolitics of the new normal. So G8 membership, geopolitics of the world order. Okay, that is the mainstream geopolitics of leading economies. And he's been basically aiming to pull it back or prevent a deep embrace of Russia into Chinese lap. With China, it has said you do anything you feel like as far as Taiwan is concerned. We'll neither raise any eyebrows nor point a finger, but for God's sake, You do not interfere, do not come into my sphere of influence. So that Monroe Doctrine has been, I think, a new name has been given as some Donroe or something.
Donroe Doctrine.
Donroe Doctrine.
Donald Trump Doctrine.
Okay, so these are the dynamics that I am talking of. His basic aim is to push back China, whether he states it in this manner or not. This is my analysis. And also capture these points, these premium points, which are going to add on to his wealth flowing into, or steady flow of wealth into America to make America great again. I think we have.
या सर, पता ही नहीं चला समय का। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आज के सेशन के लिए सर। आई थिंक इट्स अ रियल एजुकेशन टू हियर फ्रॉम यू। थैंक यू सो मच मेजर जनरल सुधाकर जी। Guys, keep a tab on our channel. Please follow us. Please like and share and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. With that, we end our session for today. Uh, Major General Sudhakar ji, thank you so much again for your time. Maybe
Thank
we
you.
can catch up for another quick session at a time that suits you.
No problem. So you're welcome. As long as I'm able to contribute for larger good of our country, because whatever I'm doing, I'm doing it purely out of passion. I'm enjoying.
Thank you so much, sir.
Take care. All the best. I'm not a classified expert. Okay, it is my hobby. Geopolitics, like geopolitics, is your passion. Similarly, it is my passion. In case there are any shortcomings, any deficiency, my cup is empty always. I am a student, and I would like to learn from you as much as you want to learn from me. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, sir. I just like to connect the dots between supply chain and geopolitics, as I said before when we were speaking offline, right, sir?
Take care. Eh?
So thank
Take
you
care.
so much, sir.
Bye.
Jai Hind and Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Take care. Thank you.